Video notes. Today's video notes are on one-step equations, or solving equations with only one step. Today we're going to look at both the addition and subtraction properties of equality and how we can use them to solve one-step equations, and the multiplication and division properties of equality. Let's first look at the addition and subtraction properties of equality. We know that if we add the same thing to both sides, then we keep our equation balanced and it's still equal. In order to get x by itself, and we have two solid ones here, we have to add two negatives to make zero pairs. And so as you can see, we add -2 or two negative ones to both sides, and as long as we're doing them to both sides, it is balanced and it is equal. Now that we see we have two zero pairs, we zero them out and we can take them out. What's left is just x and 3, so x equals 3. Let's look at our subtraction property. We know that if we subtract things on both sides, then it'll remain equal. We subtract to the left, we subtract to the right, and it's the same thing. So if we take 2 away on the left side, we'll have to take 2 away on the right side. A +2 and a -2 is 0. 5 minus 2 is 3. So if we just subtract from both sides, we get those away. X equals 3. Now we need to check it out to see if it works. We go back to the original problem and substitute our value for x to see if it works. Does 3 plus 2 equal 5? We see that either adding a -2 or subtracting 2 to both sides will work. Let's look at problem 2. Here we have x plus a -2. Now, if we use our addition property, we have to add something to this that will zero out these negatives. Well, a positive will zero out a negative, so we need to add 2 to both sides. Add 2 to the left, add 2 to the right, as we can see in our second diagram. Now, remember, if we have a zero pair, we can go ahead and take them out. So we can take these two zeros out, and we see what we got left is x and 6. So x equals 6. Subtraction property is the same. Here what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to subtract 2 negatives. Well, this is a little bit more challenging in this situation as we don't have any negatives on the right hand side. So in order to do that, we have to add 2 zero pairs. In other words, 2 positives and 2 negatives so that we can have the 2 negatives to take away. Adding those 2 zero pairs. If we do that, then we can take the 2 negatives that they both share away, and what we have left is x equals 6. Now we have to plug that in to make sure it works. 6 plus a -2 is 4. 6 plus a -2 is 4. The reason I show you both of these methods is because sometimes it's easier to add, and sometimes it's easier to subtract. In this case, it was much easier to add the 2 positive ones because you didn't have negatives on the other side. If we look at example 1, it was easier just to take away because they both had the same numbers on each side. Let's look at the multiplication and division properties. Here we have 4x is equal to 8. If we would evenly divide each x into 4 equal parts, separate them into 4 rows, and separate our right-hand side into 4 rows, we would see that each row gets 2. So if we divide both sides by 4, 8 divided by 4 is 2. We have 4 groups of 2. Therefore, x equals 2. Let's check to make sure. 4 times 2 does equal 8. So in dividing them into equal parts, we can easily solve a problem with multiplication. Two x's. Here's another example. If we divided these into 2 equal parts, we put them into 2 equal rows, we'd see that each equal row had -1, -1, and -1. So each row has a -3. That gives us a solution that x is equal to -3. Again, we divided them equally into different rows. 2 times a -3 does equal a negative 6. Look at problem 3. This is a division problem, which is a little bit challenging. We have 1/2 of an x is equal to 3. Well, in order to solve this problem, we're going to have to use a multiplication property. We know that we have a half an x, but we need another half of an x. So if 1/2 x is equal to 3, another of the same half x will also equal 3. So we put another one on there. Now, if we have a half of an x plus a half of an x, we get a full x. So as we can see, if we just multiply this value times 2, or this situation times 2, we have two groups of 1/2 x equals 3. We can solve it to have a full x will equal 6. Problem 4. Here we have 1/3 of an x is equal to negative 1. Well, we need 2 more. So if we get 3 groups of the 1/3, we'll have a full value. So here we're going to have to multiply both sides by 3. So we'll have 3 groups of 1/3 x and 3 groups of negative 1, as seen in our second picture. Well, if we add all of the 1/3 x's up, 1/3 x plus 1/3 x plus 1/3 x, we get 1x. And if we add everything on the right-hand side, negative 1 plus negative 1 plus negative 1, we get negative 3. X is equal to negative 3. Well, if we take negative 3 divided by 3, we do in fact get negative 1.